Hello and welcome to Deeply Curious. My name is Cody Jensen, and joining me in our New York City studio apartment is my wife, Sarah.
Hello.
We just recorded I think we were recording for 2.5 hours.
Long time.
A long time. So I'm redoing the intro now, post-show, because this conversation started with talking about virality and talking about what things go viral, why things go viral,
What does
that
that
type of stuff.
mean?
What does that mean? And we went through this. We talked for an hour about that. But after that hour was up, we started talking about popular things in culture and talking about 50 Shades of, or we talked about 50 Shades of Grey in the first hour, and then we started talking about James Patterson and books, and then we got into some deeper personal stuff. So I'm introing this after to let you know that this is going to be a lot of the first part of the conversation is going to be edited out, so that there isn't an hour of lead up before we get into like the better stuff. So here's where the conversation ended up in that. But before jumping into that, I just want to say that this podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a counseling service. It is not a crisis hotline. It's a counseling service. And if you don't know, BetterHelp.com is an affordable, private, online counseling service with unlimited access to licensed therapists. It's a super simple sign up. You just fill out a questionnaire and you're matched with a therapist, and you can actually begin counseling that day, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest thing for me is that it is face-to-face counseling, and that usually costs $150 to $250 plus. I mean, unless you have like Dr. Richard Nygaard, which you may be getting up to like $500 a session.
Patterson rack anywhere.
But BetterHelp can be as affordable as $35 a week, and that gets you all access to a licensed therapist.
Huge.
You must be 18 or older to use the service, and it is a weekly counseling service, not a crisis line. There's a link in the show notes, or you can just go to betterhelp.com/Jensen. We are big proponents, supporters of counseling, and also of just like breaking down the stigma that, counseling is for anybody and everybody. Not
You should go to counseling.
Yes.
Whether you think you need it or not.
And the thing with BetterHelp is it provides an affordable way to get into counseling.
And convenient too.
Yeah, very convenient. So betterhelp.com/Jensen. Okay, jumping into today's show. We are going to start with this conversation about virality.
Yeah.
And we don't know where it's going to end up or go. But yeah, that's going to be our starting point. We may have other conversations.
Yeah, who knows?
So the reason we're having this conversation is because I've been reading this book called Hitmakers, and I've been reading it for
a long time.
Too long.
I think I said last night, you were asking me to pick out a fiction book for you to read, and which you've done this to me like 3 times over the last couple months. And I was like, okay, but are you actually going to read it? Because every time I pick out a new book for you, you just start reading Hitmakers again. We go through this whole process and you don't even read the book I choose.
And I was like, because I just need to finish it.
Yeah.
And so
it's a great book. It's just a lot of information.
Well, it really has nothing to do with the book. It has more to do with me.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I had a goal to read like way more this year. And I read 3 books in the first
3 months.
3 months. Maybe 4 months, but I think it was 3 books in 3 months. And I had like a Twitter thread going.
Yeah.
Book 1 of 2018, book 2, book 3. This is my book 4, and now we're in the 7th month.
We're in the 8th.
8th month. Oh, okay. Well, somebody needs to get on the ball, and it's me.
Yeah.
But that all to say, we've actually had a conversation about this book previously on the podcast on a different chapter that I found very intriguing. But I was reading yesterday, and we started having this conversation, and I wanted to have this conversation because, 1, I think it's really interesting. 2, because I know this is going to bring out Sassy Sarah.
Yeah.
And Sassy Sarah is a fun character.
Listen, I just have some opinions.
You do. Sassy Sarah doesn't come out like that often.
I keep her in check.
Yeah.
You know?
But I guarantee you this is a 100% chance.
Feel free to disagree with her if you want, but she has her opinions.
So The thing that I found interesting was that he was talking about virality and things going viral, and how in this day and age in our culture, we typically, if something is
Gets a
being
lot
talked
of,
about,
yeah.
or if something gets, a million views, 100 million views, like whatever, we
Yeah.
say like, holy cow, that went viral. And he uses the example of 50 Shades of Grey, kind of
Mhm.
talking about that book and how, seemingly it went viral. I mean, like that 2015 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
You
was
could
talking about
not
it.
get away from it.
And like it seemed like everybody was reading it, but more so, definitely everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
And it went on to become one of the best-selling books of all time.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people would say that's viral, but he breaks that down into how it actually happened. But first, he describes what is actually happening. And instead of it going viral, it's just being broadcast. And the difference between virality and a broadcast, and he uses the term of dark broadcasters, because there are times whenever things are broadcast and maybe you don't even realize that it was broadcast to you,
Mhm.
because it was like maybe once removed or something like that. But because it's being spread so wide, we say like, holy cow, that went viral. So saying that that went viral is like saying that something that was on the front page of the New York Times went viral. It's
Mhm.
like there are hundreds of millions of people who read the front page of New York Times. To say that went viral is incorrect. It was just broadcast to a huge audience.
Mhm.
And he's like, if there on the in the New York Times there was this recipe for this all new like cheesecake, and you read it in the morning, and then you went to work, and there was a couple people talking around the water cooler, and they're like, hey, did you see that cheesecake recipe? That looks really good. And then you go home and your wife's like, hey, some people at work were talking about this cheesecake recipe.
Right.
Have you seen anything about that? And in your mind you're thinking, holy cow, this thing is going viral. And it's like, no, it's just a publication with millions of eyeballs on it,
Right.
put it out there, and then now a few people are talking about it. It's has nothing to do with going viral. It's not because of 1 million one-on-one interactions. It's because
Mhm.
of 1 million interaction. It's
Mm.
1 million people looking at one person, not 1 million people talking to one other person.
Yeah.
Which to me, that was just really interesting information. I mean, I don't necessarily have any like commentary on that, other than it's just funny or interesting that we always talk about things going viral.
Right.
And like, it's not really things going viral. It's just a lot of people knowing about something. Because
Right.
so the where I wanted to lead this conversation
Uh-huh.
is that's just an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
But because of the example he used,
Mhm.
it gets into Sassy Sarah category,
It does.
in the fact that he uses 50 Shades of Grey and tells the story of 50 Shades of Grey and how it actually happened.
Yeah.
And
Which I knew most of it,
yeah,
but
yeah, I mean, you
not the
knew like the
numbers.
backstory
Yeah.
and the fact that 50 Shades of Grey, it seemingly went viral, but he breaks it down in the fact that it was actually broadcast, because 50 Shades of Grey started on a website called fanfiction.net,
Right.
and she was writing Twilight fanfiction,
Yes.
and she ended up amassing like
5
5
million.
million, 5 million readers on this
Which
fanfiction.
is wildly impressive.
And she
Like,
was like one of the top people on fanfiction. And so this like Twilight fanfiction was getting a lot of readers, and
mhm.
she decided that, well, she was scared that somebody might take her story and publish it,
Valid.
and so she decided to publish it herself. Basically, a lot of people bought the book, and then like 3,000 of them went on Goodreads and gave
Right.
it a 5-star rating,
Mhm.
because they were already fans.
Yeah.
And so it went from having an audience of 5 million to now being on Goodreads with like
With
3,000
a
5-star ratings immediately,
yeah,
which
dedicated
which
audience.
brought that to Goodreads' attention, because it now amassed itself to being like the second biggest and highest rated romance book of the
Mhm.
year. And
Mhm.
so it ends up being on Goodreads like
List.
awards. Like it actually got like their best romance book
Yeah.
award because of how many ratings it had, which then led to, like, there's kind of a longer story in here, like the middle of this part, but then that led to Random House, the publisher, um, makes a publishing deal
Yeah.
with E.L. James to publish 50 Shades of Grey. Then they push it out, and it is immediately, like, the day it's published, New York Times bestseller list, another broadcast
Mm-hmm.
to millions of people.
Right.
It immediately, is being talked about and sold because now it's on the number one on the New York
Right.
Times bestseller list. So now people are picking it up. Then they're talking about it. Then I think it was 1 week or 2 weeks later, they did the same thing for the second book. A few weeks later, they did the same thing for the third book. They did it like all right in a row to keep people talking and binging on it.
Which worked.
Yes, which worked, which led to this fact is insane.
Yeah.
A 1 million copies sold of a book is considered to be like a massive success.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey series sold over 150 million copies. You assumed it went viral because, like, somebody read it and was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, told their friend, and they were like, oh, I read it, and they told 3 of their friends. They read it, they told 3 of their friends. That's not how it happened. It was
Right.
3 or 4 big broadcasts
Right.
that took it into the mainstream, which
Right.
made it popular, which then it's just a snowball from there.
Correct.
Before you jump into everything that you would like to say,
Yes.
I have these 2 highlights on popularity.
Okay.
And once it basically started spreading, it talks about popularity. And some consumers buy products not because they are better in any way, but simply because they are popular. What they are buying is not just a product, but also a piece of popularity itself.
Social value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Skip a paragraph. What separated 50 Shades of Grey is that its notoriety became a distinct product. People who didn't even enjoy reading still wanted to avoid being the last person to have read it. Popularity is the product.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that gets Sarah is the fact that it the money grab side of it.
Here's the thing.
Here, I'm just gonna rear you up. I'm gonna pull you back like one of those cars that you had to get as a kid.
Yeah.
Wind you up. And now I'm letting you go.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
First of all, the popularity thing is really interesting and so true. I'm the opposite. It's why I don't read popular books. And that's not to say that they're not valid or that they're not good or whatever, but I have a hard time reading the more mainstream fiction because there's a lot more out there that nobody promotes and nobody knows about. And my all-time favorite books, nobody's ever heard of, which sucks because they're freaking fantastic books. And that is my beef with 50 Shades of Grey. Here's the thing. It is not that it's romance, though that is my least favorite genre. Like, I'm just going to fair, right? I don't like romance books. It's not even that it started as Twilight fan fiction, though I don't like Twilight either. I'm all for fan fiction. Like, I feel like there's a spot for that, but it sucks. Not 50 Shades of Grey is awful. Like, I don't want to diminish what she has done, what E.L. James did, because obviously, like, she wrote Twilight fan fiction and people loved it, and she saw an opportunity and took it, and it worked for her. I'm not trying to diminish any of that, but
you're not trying to diminish her, but you hate the fact that 50 Shades of Grey diminished literature.
Correct. It is not literature in the traditional definition of literature. And honestly, it doesn't deserve to have sold 150 million copies. Like, it's not. Read what you want to read. And here's the thing. I've come a long way in my snobbish book ways. Like, I accept the fact that Twilight is going to be some people's favorite books. I accept that now. I don't like it, but it's fine. Like, you do you. But there are just so many good books, beautiful books that will never see the light of day. and 50 Shades of Grey gets to be the one that sold 100 no, that's not, it's not fair. It sucks. It's stupid and I really don't like it. And like I I don't know. It's just that I really hate that the only things that people pay attention to are the popular things. It's not that they don't deserve to be popular or that they didn't do something right. Like, it's not any of that, but it's just, why are we only paying attention to what's popular? Like, that's not all that's going on. Like I said, my favorite books are not, like, most people have never heard of them. And they're beautiful books that deserve attention. They're beautiful authors that deserve attention and deserve to, I don't know, like make a living doing what they love and are good at, but will never because they're not, the popular ones, which is stupid because they're, I think, better content, better stories than 50 Shades of Grey, but they will never be at that level, nor will they ever see the light of day because publishers are only paying attention to that. And that's stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's so sad to see that, like, for me, I guess, as a person who romanticizes everything, like, it's sad to see people just settling for, like, crappy books or, just what's popular.
Right. For the sake of needing to be in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I read Twilight, like, 3 years after it was popular. Like, this is where I've grown a lot, okay? I refused to read Twilight. Like, I was the opposite. I was so angry about it for so long. And then I read it after everything died down. And it wasn't the worst book I've ever read. Like, I finished them, But it's hard for me when someone says, "Oh, Twilight's my favorite book." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like, you're just missing out on so much. Like, I want to do the, "Aw, you're so cute," like pinch your cheeks. Because there's so much better literature out there. So, like, well thought out, well written, asks really important questions, and like, why are we ignoring all of that? Why are we ignoring, like, the important stuff? I don't understand. I just don't understand. And I don't understand why all of the, again, I know this is a, like, overgeneralization, but why all the bad stuff gets popular? Like, why doesn't the actual good written literature or the, like, beautiful music, like, why doesn't all of that get popular? Even though, because it's good and, like, objectively good. Like, people agree that, oh, yes, this is good. And then it just doesn't get popular. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that is a bit of an overgeneralization or
I know.
exaggeration because, I mean, lots of amazing stuff does make it into popularity, but it does seem that way. That,
But, like, the biggest popular stuff, like, the things that, like, are just, like,
right.
on the next level. It's, like, not the best art, Not even, like, 50 Shades aside, because I think that's, no, I'm not going to say that because that's mean. It's not good. It's not great. You know what I mean? It's just like a erotic romance, poorly written thing, right?
Yeah.
And, like, if you want to read it, fine. Like, I don't care, like, what you want to read. Like, if you want to read it, fine. But just, like, why did that have to be the one that, like, sold 150 million? I'd rather Twilight. You know what I mean? At least it was, I mean,
edited.
Weird, but edited. Yeah. Like, Twilight started even weirder, I feel like, than 50 Shades did. It was just like Stephenie Meyer had a dream about being with a vampire. And, like, that's where that's weird, right? Like, it doesn't really deserve popular. But okay, fine. At least it was edited. So, I don't know.
So, after that conversation, now I'm just thinking about what is the question that we're asking? Like,
what am I asking?
Or in general, like, I mean, I given some facts, given, like, some, opinion, but, like, what is this conversation about? What are we asking? Like, what are we trying to get to?
I think and this is a thing that I like I just always get so frustrated with like corporations and companies and how they treat art. Like not just books, although I'm fairly passionate about that, but like music, um everything. Like they just dumb it down to the dollars, and I think it does everybody a disservice. Like we were talking about this the other day because there was an article that came out about record labels, and like they're doing the same thing. They're looking for your platform. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're giving deals to people who have a platform, and that's
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And I just find that so frustrating because one, like I said with the publishing deal, like just because you have a platform doesn't mean you're a talented musician, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you should be a musician, and vice versa. Just like you're a very talented musician but you don't have the platform, and that means you're not going to get like a record deal. Not only does it do a disservice to that artist and to the label, but to the people, because now we miss out on that art because
Mm-hmm.
the record label's too concerned with the platform.
Right.
And I don't know what that's called, but I am so frustrated by watching it happen. Like,
Yeah. Like we're sending a meme song to number one,
yeah,
and then there's some like incredible musician sitting at home who has like toured multiple times, multiple records out, and
doing amazing work.
like trying to make it, and it is going
And
unknown.
we'll never see the light of day because they're too concerned with what can make a buck. Like that, it's so frustrating to me and so sad because mostly because like, and I know that it doesn't happen all the time. Like there are people who, get famous because they have a platform who deserve the recognition, right? Like, I don't even have an example, but there
Well,
are,
I mean, yeah, for a lot of they got a platform for a reason.
right. Like they start, but they build their own platform and then record labels notice or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like they deserve the recognition, but I'm talking about the ones that I just think it's stupid that we expect somebody to be the artist, the writer, the producer, the publicist, the marketer, the everything. I'm like, no, like can't we just like notice that they have really great art, really great potential and like help
Mm-hmm.
people? I don't understand why we're in this weird whatever we're in.
I think this all comes like to a point of a life lesson of the fact that there essentially there is always someone less talented than you
Mhm.
working twice as hard, and they're going to make it,
Yeah.
because that's just like that's just the way the world is, that talent only takes you so far.
Right.
You're going to have to work harder
Right.
than
I
like
don't
than you know there's always somebody who wants it more than you that's less talented, and so you can't just like rest on your laurels. Basically, you can't like
right.
just be like, I'm talented enough, I should make it. And whether I'm not arguing that that's the way the world should be, I'm saying this is the way the world is, and this is kind of the lesson that I think can come of this, is that if you're really talented, if you write amazing books, if you write amazing music or whatever, there there is definitely somebody out there who is just hustling twice as hard as you,
Yeah.
who doesn't do nearly as good of a job you do, but they're going to be the ones that people know because they're hustling harder.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that's the thing I'm trying. Like I think it's more about like we should just not write people off because they don't have a platform. Like I don't even really know what that means. But like
Well, I mean, I understand that, but you and I don't write people off because we are the consumer. You are arguing to somebody who isn't listening.
yeah, but I'm also arguing to people. I mean, there's a reason that people bought 150 million copies of Shades of Grey.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's because they're not paying attention and they're just buying what's popular. They're buying what people are talking about. And not that there's anything wrong with that. And like obviously people are talking about things for a reason, but like don't just pay attention to that. Pay attention to like go walk the shelves of the bookstore and like pick up books that are intriguing to you. Like, learn about something new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of just, following like the celebrity musicians, although they make great music, I listen to them. Like, go actually look at like the new artist, whatever, playlists on Spotify and crap. Like, go search for new people and like support them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's kind of like I was thinking a minute ago. Every season, you know, there's always this new show
Uh-huh.
that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, have you watched it? Have you watched it? Have you watched it? Have you watched it? And there are some of those that are actually great shows, that
Mhm.
are really good art and they are worth watching, if you're into television or into story or whatever.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of them that people are it's becoming so big and it's becoming so talked about just because it is becoming popular because people are talking about it and asking other people if they're watching it, and it's that that exact line of people who didn't even enjoy reading still wanted to avoid being the last person to have read it. You want to
Yeah.
avoid being the last person to see this show,
Right.
and so you end up you know not that there's anything necessarily wrong with watching like mindless TV.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you only want to like spend so much time consuming content,
Right.
so this is just my perspective. I only want to spend so much time watching TV, and I would rather give my time to stuff that actually is good, is
Quality.
quality, or like that makes me think, instead of, oh my gosh, everybody is talking about Riverdale.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's talking about it. We need to like watch it. And it's
Although, to
like,
be fair, I do watch Riverdale.
right. I understand that you watch it,
But we disagree on Riverdale.
but I mean, it's a bad show.
I know I don't let you watch it with me because you just make fun of it the whole
I
time.
mean, it's hard not to laugh sometimes, like
I mean, it is CBS or whatever, or
CW.
CW.
But I mean, that was the only example I could come up with. But I mean, I still stand by it that it's
Yeah.
not a good show.
Yeah, you
I'm
do.
not saying that it's not entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, then that can I
There is entertainment
we
value.
had this conversation
Yeah.
before. Like, there is value in entertainment. It's entertainment value. You can watch it just for entertainment. You
Yeah.
can just that's the reason reality TV and everything else.
Mhm.
But
I think it's also like if you want to look at like bubblegum pop music, there's a reason it's so popular. It's because
Mhm.
it's entertaining. Like, bottom line, that's it.
Right.
I mean, I also
So, I guess my sassy Cody, my argument
Mhm.
is uh, just to watch, listen, read, whatever the crap you want to.
Yeah.
Just don't do it because it's popular. Like,
Right.
not that there's anything intrinsically wrong with being popular. It's more so read it because you actually want to, not because everybody else is doing it and like you want to be a part of that conversation.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you
I
understand
agree.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that it's true. Like, you should just not care too much about like pop culture and like what is popular at the moment, and like just do what you do.
yeah,
But I just also suggest that you like pay attention to the smaller guys, you know?
yeah, I also
There's so much good art out there.
I very much like I guess how would you even say that? Like against my own argument or something.
Contradictory.
Yeah. I also contradict myself in the fact that I very much look to like averages
Uh-huh.
as far as like Rotten Tomatoes like
Oh, yeah.
like if something before I don't think I've ever watched a movie without looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score first.
Yeah.
Because I trust the aggregate.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
It's an annoying thing sometimes when I want to.
I might miss out on something I'll enjoy, but again, I only want to spend so much time
Yeah.
like on a movie, and so if it's like below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, even though it could be an enjoyable movie,
I
it's
know.
like
It's so annoying.
I would rather watch the 75%, the 80, the 90, things like that.
Drives me crazy. I'm like, hey, let's watch this. It looks like, just like a cute romantic comedy or whatever. And you're like, but it's got like 47. Who cares? There's a reason I want to watch a cute romantic comedy.
And there's a reason that people want to read 50 Shades of Grey.
I know. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's annoying.
But I that was a devil's advocate move because I actually don't agree with my statement there because
Yeah.
I think that people wanted to read 50 Shades of Grey to be a part of the conversation, to be a part of
Yeah.
the pop, like the wave. Then
Do
it had anything
you?
to do with the fact that like they wanted to read it.
Let's ask this question. And this is 50 Shades of Grey specific.
Mhm.
Do you think it was so popular because it's such smut? Do you think like
Well,
there was
so-
an aspect of why people wanted to read it because it's kind of smut?
It had that factor because it came right with the wave of e-readers. And so it allowed the suburban mom to read porn
In
without
secret.
having to show the cover, without having to hide or sit at home. They could actually go out and they could read on,
Yeah.
not a suburban mom want to be on the train, but they could be on the train, and
You
read.
never know. That's not stereotype.
I guess, yeah, they could be riding the train back out to suburbia, but they'd be driving their Suburban back out there.
Okay.
Anyways, the thing is like, I'm not making this up. Like in the book, they actually broke it down. Like many people have tried to study why it became popular, and one of the reasons that they have, speculated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fact, but one of the things is because it would literally hit with the biggest boom of e-readers.
Yeah.
And 50 Shades of Grey
Everyone was
launched
buying it.
as an ebook before it went into Random House, and so it allowed like women to read porn without having to hide it, and they could do whatever, and then it became mainstream, and they could actually talk about it,
Yeah.
and read it. And
But
whatever.
what's fascinating is that there's this girl who wrote fan fiction. It was wildly popular. It started out as a Harry Styles fan fiction, but then a publisher approached her, and she had to change the name. Obviously, it couldn't be Harry Styles, so it was she changed the name to some other. But it was
Gomer Piles.
Yeah, it was like word for word from her. I think it was on Wattpad, and they gave her a 6-figure book deal, which is a big deal, especially like your first book. She's like 18. I mean, big deal. It did not do well.
Mhm.
Like I think it was 5 books or something like that. It did not do well.
Yeah, and that is another thing that was in the studies of.
Even though she had a big audience.
Yeah, but it was probably at the end of the wave, because that is another thing that's in the studies of basically popularity becomes its own demise. And just like with Twilight, how at the boom Twilight hits, vampire stuff everywhere.
Oh,
Vampire books, vampire
impossible.
movies, vampire TV shows. But then it comes to a point where it becomes so saturated that people actually turn and like want to move on to something else because it's like being pushed like so hard, like vampire.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with 50 Shades of Grey. It's like right when it came out, there were like a few other like
no one could get enough, so they read other books.
Other quote unquote romance books, but basically a few other people were able to ride that wave, with that. But then
And got rich.
Yeah, and then people like fell out of that trend.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's like in
hers didn't
same
do
thing
well.
like dystopian like was
The Hunger Games.
a few years later, Hunger Games and
The Maze Runner. A lot of young
the
adult.
Shailene Woodley one.
Oh, Divergent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think they were kind of at the end.
Right. Divergent was
So far at the end that they never released the last movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like Divergent, the book series, I think hit it perfect.
Yeah.
They actually rode the wave really well, and everybody read the Hunger Games, and then everybody kind of read the Divergent series, so they did really well. But then the movies take so long
Yeah.
that by the time the first movie came out, people were kind of falling out of like popularity with the dystopian scene.
Which is a bummer because I actually liked the way that the Divergent books ended.
Yeah. So it's kind of sad that like they went through all of that, and then now like the third movie isn't even going to be made. Fourth movie is going to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third movie they made, but I don't even know if it went to theaters. Remember? We saw it on. I don't think it went to theaters. But
Yeah.
it missed it. Like
Right.
the movies, they didn't get out in time.
It's just crazy. Like it's just ironic that like the popularity
Yeah.
leads to its own like
Yeah, that's
because
true.
it's such a money grab that like everybody wants to go after it.
Why? Listen, I know we have to make money in this world, but why? Why does everything have to be about money?
Everything's always about money.
I hate it. I just want to go like live in the woods or something. Like that I think is the thing that's the most discouraging to me, is that like we're going to miss out on beautiful stuff because people are too concerned with the money. How much money are you going to make me? I think that sucks.
Yep.
I think that's a terrible way to live. But here we are.
Money is one of the things that either makes the world go round or is at the core and we all have to go around it. Like there's no
Both of them, I think.
there's like no way to get around money.
I know, it's a terrible cycle. I could talk about it forever. It's depressing.
Yeah.
Listen, here's the thing. I think you should just read whatever you want. But I say that with caveat because I have my own opinions. Here's the thing. Like, don't read 50 Shades of Grey. Or, I mean, I know that that's like gone. That's past. But like things like that. Like, don't just settle for what's popular. Because, like, just because it's unknown doesn't mean it's not good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're just selling yourself short if you're not like open-minded, and like it takes a little bit of work to find good things, but that's the point. Like good, like whether you're like trying to build a career or, you know, whatever, like everything that's good takes work. So it's the same, I feel like, with art. Like you have to be open-minded and willing to look for it, because just because it's not well known doesn't mean it's bad. Like it's just not popular.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of opinions on all of this stuff, but I understand that like it's, you know, everybody is like me.
Right.
You know?
And
I get it. I just really want you to read different books though. Like I'm really frustrated that 50 Shades of Grey is going to be what we're known for.
This is a conversation I would like to have at another time because we're already at the end of this podcast. But I think all of this comes back to talking to us and myself and to everybody else. Just let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you read, what you watch. But I guess what we're trying to say and what I'm inferring from you is challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just challenge yourself to read things that challenge you and watch things that challenge you.
Well, I think also
in a part of your regular diet, you can
for sure
you can do the things that, you know, Fast and Furious. They're fun.
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing though, but
also
just
maybe watch the documentary about Mr. Rogers too.
Yeah. I think just don't let the corporations decide what you like for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Stick it to the man.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Stick it to the man. Don't let the man decide what you're going to read, watch.
Power to the people.
Yeah, power to the people. Speaking of, if you want we've talked about this in a vlog, but if you do want a underrated movie.
So underrated.
Captain Fantastic.
Is absolutely fantastic.
It is. Captain Fantastic is not a superhero movie.
It's a family movie.
It's a family. Maybe don't watch it with your family.
No, it's about a family.
It's about a family. But yes.
Can I tell some underrated books that I think people should read since we're talking about it? No, time's
up. You may.
You should read Isn't It Pretty to Think So by Nick Miller. It's a fantastic book. And How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran. And, well, we'll just leave it with those two for now.
Yeah.
I'll have more later. Start with those two.
But then, after you're done with those, you could read Bill Clinton and James Patterson's new book about the president. I don't know.
James Patterson.
That's who did it, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know, but honestly, James Patterson is too much. I have opinions about him, too. Not him as a person, just him.
You just have opinions about any artist that puts out an exorbitant amount of work.
Okay, maybe, but...
Because you haven't even read his stuff.
I understand, but he literally doesn't write anything without another person now, which I find annoying. He is in every section of the freaking bookstore, and an author should not be in literally every section. Every section. Comic books, children's, adult, young adult. Like, honestly, like, just,
But
it's too much for me. It's too much. It's too much.
but what
He
if it's
also puts
what if
out
it's
a
really
book.
good?
He puts out a book like every month.
Yeah, what if it's good though?
No, a story can't be that good.
You don't know.
I do know.
No.
You cannot write a great. He's putting out. Actually,
James Patterson
no,
fans.
No. Listen, I think this is a good indicator of what I'm trying to explain here.
Mm-hmm.
There was in this book that I'm reading called Just Right or something like that. He was talking about he got on the plane and there was this lady reading this book, paperback, whatever, and every 30 pages or so she would rip the pages and set them on the seat, and when the flight attendant would come by, she'd throw them in the trash. And he was like appalled, which obviously you would be. You just don't rip up books, okay? And he finally asked her, he was like, what are you doing? Like, can I ask what? She was like, oh, I'm just reading a James Patterson. It's not that important. And literally, she would just rip the pages out and throw them away. And I'm not saying James Patterson is not important enough to save the book, because you should save the book. You shouldn't just rip up
But
books.
what if it's a trade paper?
But I think the fact that she didn't feel like it was important enough to keep, or at least leave on the seat and give to somebody else, is indicative of the kind of stories he's writing now. He's writing these freaking one-shots. Have you seen them? They're like 50 pages or whatever. Tiny little... He puts out like 5 a month. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's just not... It's absurd. I have a lot of opinions. It's fine.
I have heard.
And I understand that there are other people who love them, and I'm not trying to diss that. I just have an opinion.
You think? Here's my counter to
there
what
is
you
no
just
counter.
said.
You're not going to change my mind.
No, I am going to change your mind.
No, you're not. Go ahead.
What? Now, I'm not going to argue against like the little one shot, like
one-shots.
all that type of stuff. What I'm saying is you argue the fact that he's in every section of the bookstore.
Yes, I find that absurd.
Yeah.
Because he's in every single section of the bookstore, because he's writing with somebody else, not because he's good enough to be in those sections. Like,
pause.
Ugh. Okay.
Replace James Patterson
Yeah.
with J.K. Rowling.
Oh, she can do no wrong, though.
Exactly. J.K. Rowling makes it into every section. What are you going to say? J.K. Rowling is the best author of all time. She made it in every single section. Zadie Smith makes it in every section. You're like, oh my gosh, Zadie Smith, best author of all time.
But let me tell you something.
She's the GOAT of authors because she made it in every section in the whole bookstore.
But they're not in every section for a reason. Because they are the greatest.
But I'm just saying. You don't.
I'm just saying. You can't argue J.K. Rowling or Zadie Smith. They are not in
John Green makes it in every section.
They
of the
aren't in
bookstore.
every section, though. There's a reason
I
they're
know,
not
but
in
their
every
careers haven't
section.
been as long. I'm playing devil's advocate because
How long has James Patterson been around?
a long time.
Like 30?
I don't know.
40?
He's old.
Yeah. But I also think, look, I'm not trying to like downgrade anything that he does.
You're not?
No, I just happen to
we should
firmly
replay the last 10 minutes and then you should say that you're not trying to downplay anything that he has done.
I just happen to firmly disagree. That's all.
With everything that he's done.
Yes.
Not to downplay it or anything, but like it's all trash.
I just disagree. I disagree with it. I don't think that I kind of believe he doesn't write.
You have a lot of opinions about somebody you've never read.
I refuse. I don't like his approach to anything. I feel like, look, I also feel this way about ghostwriters. I feel this way about like celebrities who write with someone else.
If I ever met a ghost who could write a book, I would read that book.
Would you?
I would. You wouldn't read a book by a ghost?
Okay, but you know what I'm saying. I have a lot. It all goes back to, I just like the purity of things, and I hate when someone ruins the purity of something. You know what I mean? It just makes me feel really sad. James Patterson makes me sad.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I don't know. I don't. It's not because I don't think that you can write 67. I mean, I have an author friend who has written like 70 something books. It's not because I don't think you can. I I'm not trying to like I said, I don't want to downplay like his talent. I think he knows what he's doing, right? Like there's a
You know
reason.
what he's doing? He's
Listen,
hustling
I
harder than
no,
everybody
but there's a
else.
reason he became popular. There's a reason, whatever. I think he maybe on some level I feel like he just sold out. He just like puts his name on crap because he knows it'll sell. You know what I mean?
Is there anything intrinsically wrong with selling out? Is
I
selling
don't
out
know.
just
I think so,
like
but
a hipster put down?
no, I like the purity of things. I think selling out is not that it loses its like authenticity and its like beauty. Does it not?
No, I don't think so, because I think that saying that somebody I think that the whole notion of somebody selling out is like it all comes from jealousy. And I'm
No,
not saying you're jealous of James Patterson. I'm
I'm
not.
not at all.
I'm saying that I'm saying like the whole entire notion of people selling out from the beginning is people saying like is you became so successful and you made so much money because you're commercialized now that
I
the people are envious and jealous of what other people are doing. It's
I
the same.
totally agree.
It's the same thing. Like right now, we're making our YouTube videos and we don't really do a lot of brand deals. Not because we don't want to, because we can't. We can't get a brand deal because we're small. Maybe one day, maybe next week we put out a brand deal and somebody comments like, "Oh, you guys are just sellouts now." How do you like?
No,
What?
I don't disagree with that, but that's not what I'm saying about James Patterson.
Oh, well,
No,
you're saying
like since I'm in the middle of rewatching Parks and Recreation, and there's this episode where Ron Swanson said, "My name means something. It has value."
so does James
You
Patterson. He could
have
slap it on a book and sell
I
millions of
know,
copies.
but he should be concerned, and he should, and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you should be concerned and like I'm not proud, but like proud of who you are and what you endorse and what your name is on. And
Right. It should hold
I
weight.
don't
Yeah.
feel like his, especially recent. I'm not saying that he's never written anything good. That's not what I mean at all. I'm saying the stuff he's doing now, the one shots, the fact that a lady feels like she can just rip the pages out and there's no consequence. Like it doesn't feel quality to me. It doesn't feel like he cares about the quality. And obviously, I've never spoken to James Patterson. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I perceive it this way. I perceive that he's just slapping his name on things and not like it lost some sort of value to me. That's all.
Yes, I see your point, and my my thing with selling out is not a counter necessarily to what you are saying about James Patterson, but more so just the notion of saying that people like
No, I
sold out in
totally
general.
agree. Yeah.
Because I just feel like
Look, if you get successful, people are going to believe that you sold out because you're
And-
doing things for money.
and look at it like if you are in that position in like you're a band and you
Right.
are getting successful, you get a record deal, you get to go on a stadium tour.
Right.
And people are like, "Oh, they're just sold out. Like they're not the cool indie band that I,
Right.
found on Spotify's new music list 3 years ago." It's like,
How people
yes, in their basement, their mom's basement. But that's the thing is if you were in their position, you would just say no. Like
Right.
the record deal comes to you and be like, "Yo, your new album is
Right.
really hot. We're gonna put some advertising dollars behind it. We're gonna get it on all the billboards and get it on the top seller list." That happens. Now you're one of the hottest artists in the country and you go on a stadium tour. You're telling me that you would look at that artist and be like, "No, I really don't want to make millions of dollars and
Right.
and be able to spread my music as wide as possible."
Right. Of course.
No.
I totally agree.
Like just the notion of people selling out because they make a lot of money,
Is dumb.
is dumb.
I agree. Though I will say, and this has nothing to do like not a counterpoint, but I do think like for me personally, I do have this like look, I don't expect to like ever be famous or wildly successful and rich or whatever. Like that's not really something that's on my mind. It's not
Mhm.
something I'm chasing. Like I'm just trying to like enjoy what I do. But like there is this sort of and I think it's maybe because I literally like authenticity is the most important to me, and like I do have sort of, I guess, a fear of like, well, what if I do get successful, and what if I do a lot of like, I don't know, self marketing, or what if I, you know what I mean? Like, it at a point it feels very inauthentic to me personally. I'm not saying it is inauthentic. I'm saying
Mhm.
it feels like I'm being inauthentic. And I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe that's what, I don't know. It's just a thing that I'm thinking about recently. Like how do you put your stuff out there, and how do you love what you're doing, and how do you get people to see it without feeling like you're selling out? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or even like, being scared that you actually do make it, because then what? Like that's a whole other conversation, but I do think about that stuff
Yeah.
too.
There's like the you hold yourself back because you're scared of actually succeeding. Because
Yeah,
once you succeed, what's next? What are
right,
you going to do? Like you
right.
accomplished your dream.
And also like I mean you do have like some sort of image, right? Like everyone is trying to portray themselves as something specific, right? And like if you do become successful, I don't know, it's just like it's just a weird, I'm kind of terrified of it. I don't know, maybe it's just like a self-sabotaging thing. But like I know I'm very self, you don't have to make that face.
I didn't make a face. I just
You
nodded my head in agreement.
I do think like there is that sort of aspect of things, like I don't know, and maybe it's like a insecurity, because like you have to believe that what you're putting out there is good enough that people need to see it. People need to read my words or whatever, and that feels like so, like, who am I to believe that? You know what I mean? I don't know what that has to do with anything. It just was a thought that
Hmm.
popped up when you said that.
So, what you're saying is that your opinions about James Patterson
Yeah.
are more so stemming from your insecurities with yourself.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I still firmly believe that all the things I said about James
Well, you
Patterson.
still firmly believe all the things you think about yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm a little terrified of success. But like in a way that I'm just so terrified of being inauthentic, or feeling like what I'm doing is inauthentic.
Hmm.
Cuz then what, you know? I don't know. But
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with James Patterson. Those are
right,
like different.
right. But I think, and that is very true. And the reason you have such a hard time putting your work
Anywhere.
out there, even though you are a very talented, very intelligent person, you hold yourself back from being successful. Like
Mhm.
you have the ability to make your own way, to, make a
Right.
living doing the thing you're gifted at, the thing that you are really good at, but
Mhm.
you stop yourself because you're so scared that if you put out your art, other people will see you as inauthentic, as a sellout, or maybe you will see yourself that way because you're working on marketing your art more,
Mhm.
twice as much time as you are actually creating said art.
Right.
Um, that like
But
you,
again, I think I was thinking about this too. Like, I think it's just I want to believe that like art and not my art necessarily, but just art in general is like pure and romantic and beautiful. And I don't want to think about the fact that some execs sat around a table to discuss how to get me like to listen to the, you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
I don't want it to be that way. Which is just a, obviously not possible. Like that is how you discover things, is by execs sitting around a table like making up marketing campaigns and strategies to entice you. But I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, but more so, just like about you, like
Yeah.
you putting out your writing,
Right.
because I believe and I know full and well that you are a talented writer, and gifted enough in writing that you could create the lifestyle that you want to live
Mm-hmm.
through that work. And you have the time to do it, but these fears of coming across to somebody as inauthentic, or maybe even feeling you're inauthentic
I feel
yourself,
like it's inauthentic.
keeps you from doing really what like your God has called you to do. He gave you these gifts,
Right.
and you're so like you have a double-edged sword that you're so scared of getting a full-time job working for somebody else that you don't. You're working for other people's dreams, which is
Right.
one of your biggest fears.
It's soul killing.
But the only way out of that is for you to use your what has been given to you and put yourself out there to act to write.
Mm-hmm.
But
I feel
you
gross doing that.
but you stop yourself.
Because I feel like, I don't know.
But the thing is one, I guess, why do you care what other people perceive you as if you're living your dream?
Mm.
And two, even if you do feel that like doing marketing
Mm-hmm.
is not authentic or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you know how this world works. You
I do
know
know. I hate it.
that the writer,
Right.
James Patterson, like, isn't a good example because he's way long than
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but let's just say, like, James Patterson, maybe you believe you can write a book 3 times as good as a James Patterson,
I'm not
book.
claiming that, by the way.
Right.
Let's
I'm just saying that you could.
hypothetical. I'm not claiming that I'm better than James Patterson.
Or, you could write a book as good as a James Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
book, but it would never be read because James is hustling
Right. He has the name.
to put it out there.
I
And that's not a great, obviously,
I
not a great
know.
example because
I
it's
know.
way, way different. But there is somebody out there who is some blogger
I know.
who is killing it
I know.
with words that are half the value of what you have, but they have twice of the drive to get it out there.
I don't disagree with you. I know exactly what I do to myself. I just, I don't know. I don't want to feel inauthentic.
How is it inauthentic? It's the exact same thing that John Acuff said of don't let people say you talk about your book too much.
Oh, I know. That was really good.
It's like you put in the work, you put in the years that it took to put this on
I know, but
paper
it's
and
not.
get it out there. And don't let somebody else tell you that you talk about something too much. And that's what you are scared of, is that you will look like you were talking about yourself or your work too much.
I know, because who am I? But it's not because I'm scared somebody else will. Although, whatever. I'm very contradictory. I have this feeling, and then as I'm saying it, I feel the exact opposite. Because it's not that I'm scared that somebody else is going to think that I talk about myself too much. It's that I don't want to talk about myself too much. Like, who am I? You know what I mean?
You are talented.
No, I know, whatever, I know. But I'm saying, who am I compared to the next person? The same.
Yeah, they
The
have just as
exact
much
same.
opportunity as you do.
I know, but I just, I don't know. It's just really weird. And it's just weird. I don't know. That's all I can say.
You are just as deserving
Mm-hmm.
as they are. You are just as undeserving as they are, because nobody deserves anything other than what they work for.
I know.
So the fact is, somebody else worked harder than you. Somebody else got a book published. Somebody else got an amazing blog following, and they were able to live their dream and do it.
I know.
That's it. They just did it.
I don't disagree with you. I don't know where you're arguing. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that they don't deserve whatever it is that they've gotten.
But you're saying that you are undeserving. Who are you? Who is lowly Sarah to not be able to achieve the goals that she wants to achieve? And that is rubbish.
We're British now.
Yes.
I just think that I don't like talking about myself.
But you're worth talking about.
I guess. I don't know. I don't think so.
No, you're not talking about you. You're not saying
I
like,
know, but
"Yo,
I'm promoting.
look at like it's and I'm not saying this to put down people who do this. I'm just saying this as an example that you're not saying that you're trying to be an Instagram influencer where all you do is post pictures of your face every day trying to get a following to sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what you're doing. You're afraid to put out art,
Mm-hmm.
like what your mind, like words, you're putting out a product. You're not
Right.
talking about you as Sarah. You're like, hey guys, look at me, buy me, look, say like me.
Mm-hmm.
It's hey, I worked really hard writing this thing, and I think it has value because it brought value to me through the experience that I took to be
Mm-hmm.
able to write this. I think it could bring value to you. It could help you in whatever the subject matter
Mm-hmm.
is. You're not saying, "Look
I
at Sarah."
know. I understand, but I don't know.
Maybe you need a pseudonym in your S.J. Lauder.
Well, I can't use that one. I don't know. I just have this weird, I guess, contradictory back and forth. Like I know everything that you're saying.
Yeah, but you know it, but what is it gonna take
To do
to
it?
do it?
I don't know. Probably just nothing.
You're never like, are you saying you're never gonna do it?
No,
Because
I'm saying that
my
I'm
advice all the time is just freaking do it.
I know.
But
I'm
that
not
doesn't
saying
work for you because you have pent up anxiety about it. So
no, I
there's like there has to be a process.
yeah.
Maybe it's betterhelp.com/Jensen.
Maybe. I just don't I don't know. Every time I think about any kind of self-promotion, I get all squirmy and gross. Just feels weird. And it feels weird because like
But
okay.
does it feel weird because you
Mhm.
don't think that what you're putting out there is worthy of people's time or that
No.
you aren't good enough to actually be talking about something?
No. I
Are
I'm
you
just
sure?
terrified of the I don't know. I am I do get like nervous, I guess, or worried or whatever about being like misunderstood, like or being taken out of context or somebody like totally misreading something. Like even in this podcast, like I say things and I'm like, oh my gosh, people are gonna hate me next week. Like I shouldn't have said that thing about James Patterson or E.L. James. Like, I'm sorry, do what you want. Like, even though I believe the things that I said, like I
Mhm.
have opinions. But like I'm so terrified of being misunderstood. And more so in the things that I write because that's like actually like things that I've thought through and like that
Well,
I
it's
don't know,
you.
like, yeah, like it's like my words and I'm terrified of being misunderstood. And not just like, oh, you didn't understand what I said, but like to understand that I'm not like searching for anything here. Like I'm not fishing for compliments. I'm not fishing for reassurance or validation or anything like that. I'm just like I just am sharing my heart and I just think that maybe somebody else might want to read it. It's just a thing that I got to work through. I don't know, but it's just look, I don't want to bring up the Enneagram again but literally it's just like word for word. Like that's the thing. It's like I need and want to be known, but I'm like terrified of like what'll happen like if you do know me. But like I can't live without writing out these things. And then like promoting them it just feels I don't know. It just feels weird. I need to figure out like a different perspective to look at it. But even the whole like, well, but it has value and people need to read it. I don't know that I necessarily like every time I think that I'm like, yeah, but who am I compared to somebody else? Like they have just as much value in their words as I do. Like,
Right.
you know what I
But
mean?
you putting out something, you hitting publish doesn't take away what they did.
I know.
Like, so saying like, who am I? It like there is enough room for everybody. You
Uh-huh.
have life experience that lots of other people don't have. And even if you have the same life experience as somebody else, they're not writing it down. You are. So
Mm-hmm.
you writing down something, you pressing publish. Pressing publish
Yeah.
has it doesn't take away anything from anybody else, and you are a human with life experience, opinions, knowledge, all of that, and you are presenting it in love. So there's like, I mean,
I know.
it's just do it. Like, you know,
Thanks, Counselor
you're
Cody.
welcome. I'm like, I try to put all these fancy words around it, but at the end of the day, my advice is just do it.
I know.
But I understand that you have a little bit harder time getting your mind around it. So just do it hasn't worked.
Nope. That
Um,
probably will never work.
but it's the
Honestly.
same. It, it's the same in the fact that you say that you're not qualified to, teach an Enneagram course,
Right.
even though you have read.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's 10 Enneagram
No,
books on the bookshelf.
I think there's 6. Okay.
Regardless,
Yeah.
there are 6
Yeah.
Enneagram books on the bookshelf that you have read cover to cover, highlighted, taken notes on your computer, written down
Mm-hmm.
everything,
Mm-hmm.
and written your own notes. There are very, very few people in this world who have read every single one of those books, has taken the time to actually study each and every single one of them, take the highlights, write them down, and to have amassed that much knowledge from different sources about a subject
Mm-hmm.
to be able to teach it to somebody. And then even if there was another person or even 500 other people that have done that, one, they're probably not helping other people through the knowledge that they have amassed.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they're not you. You have a different perspective coming through that knowledge that you could bring to people that they are. Even if they're doing the exact same thing, it's not the same because they are a different person than you. So they have a different perspective. So you have value. Your words
I
have
know.
value. Your knowledge has value. And putting it out there isn't saying, look at me, look how amazing I am. You're just sharing a sliver
Mm-hmm.
of knowledge that other people don't have. The person that you're teaching it to probably knows 18 things that they could teach you, but they haven't spent the time that you have on this one subject.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but you won't do it. This is the thing. You say you don't disagree, but the thing is you don't believe it. You don't believe in impossible things.
Oh,
It's the intro.
Taylor Swift.
It's the intro to TED Radio Hour.
Listen, I don't disagree.
Exactly. It's you have the logically you don't disagree,
Right.
but emotionally in your heart,
Right.
you don't believe that you actually do have that value. You don't believe that the knowledge that you have is worth anything to anybody
Right.
else.
Here's the thing. I read this recently again about Enneagram 4s, but it says like they may not know who they are, but they definitely know who they are not. And I feel like that's true of me. I definitely know who I'm not. Like I know what is just so opposite of me. But like I have a really hard time being like, "Oh yeah, this is who I am."
Yeah, but I also think that the who you are not, sometimes you think you know who you're not.
What do you mean?
Like in the fact that you don't believe certain things about yourself. Like you don't believe that you are certain people. You're like, I'm not that. And in reality, just like here's a prime example. I don't know, 5 years ago, you for the first 5 years of our marriage,
Mhm.
you said, I wish I was creative. I'm not a creative person at all. Like I have zero creativity. Like I wish I could do things creative, all that. You didn't even believe at all that you were creative. And I told
Mhm.
you the whole time, like, you are creative, you can be creative, it's just a
Mhm.
choice. And one day, I don't know what that like pinnacle shift was for you, but one day you like started to believe, Oh wait, maybe I am creative.
I know, but it's not. I wasn't meaning in that sense. I was meaning like, I don't know.
No, you were meaning because you thought
I was.
you couldn't do anything creative. You don't think that?
No, I'm just laughing that this has turned into a therapy session.
This is fun therapy with Sarah and Cody.
This is my least favorite therapist.
It's because I'm the most right.
No, it's because we are both very stubborn people, and I'm just getting really angry listening to you.
No,
Go ahead.
It's because I'm not an objective third party,
That might be it too.
and it's really hard for you to accept. Like, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying us. Like, that's the reason married people can't counsel each other properly, is because we come at everything with bias. So, like, even when you are right, it's hard to be like, yeah, you are right. I should do that. It's more like, you don't know me. You get defensive.
That's what I say every time.
You get defensive because they are right.
Right.
Versus a objective third party with nothing to gain in the matter.
Fine. Fine. You are right. But I don't think that I do think that there are certain things that I know that I am not. Like,
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying you definitely know who you're not. Like you have a you have a very clear picture of who you're not and even who you are.
Yeah, but I have a hard time like saying who I am or like really like believing like.
But that is insecurity, not because you don't know who you are. You're just insecure in who you are.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I will have to decide that one later. I don't know. I just feel like the whole I don't know. I just think where we're at culturally is weird and confusing, and I don't know. That's it.
Yep.
It's hard to navigate, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to navigate, but it's even harder for you.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
because you have a wall of insecurity that you have to get through first before you have to deal with the culture. Like the culture is on the other side of the anxiety, and then once you get through that, then you still have to deal with it, which gives you more anxiety because you know that once you get over your anxiety, you have to deal with all the even more stuff.
Which just a lot. Like I'm not whatever. Just a lot of the things I just have a hard time with. Not like I have a hard time with like a lot of our, I don't know, there's the things that we do in society, in our culture. Like they feel, I guess, opposite of me. And so I guess like getting through the insecurity and then having to figure out like the opposite of me is just too much. It's a lot. That's all. But with that being said,
yeah,
just don't read 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay. So we started over 2 hours ago.
Way too long.
You did not hear a 2-hour show. A lot of that was edited out for time. But I feel like the conversation where we started off with, it ended up in a really interesting and deep place that I think is worth talking about and hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, thank you for being vulnerable.
Me?
Yeah.
You're welcome. I see, I can spill my guts. I don't care about that. Like that doesn't, it's not like that. Doesn't bother me at all. Like if I'm talking to somebody, even the fact like knowing that this is going on the internet, like I can still just like spill my guts. It doesn't bother me. But
if you were to write it down and press publish.
Yeah. Well, I do write it down, but I'm just terrified that somebody's going to read it wrong, which is weird because I like writing it better than speaking it because I think my thoughts are more clear and like precise and thought out when I write it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's actually what I think. Sometimes when I speak, I like say a bunch of words and like it takes me a minute to get to what I actually think, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can spill my guts and it's totally fine, but then I'm terrified of what it's weird. I don't know. What I'm saying is I don't feel like I was vulnerable just now. It just felt like normal.
I mean, you almost cried like 4 times.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I was being vulnerable. Like not even a little bit. I feel totally fine.
Yeah, we definitely have like a way different like vulnerability scale. But
I don't know what is vulnerable to me. I feel like
self-marketing, putting yourself out there and saying I'm worth the work that I do is worth enough that you should look at it, buy it, whatever.
I suppose. Yeah, that's it. Whatever. I'll spill my guts every day. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So your vulnerability ends whenever you have to believe that you have intrinsic value that others could enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh yeah. So that's where this ended up. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We are brought to you by BetterHelp.com/Jensen.
Yes.
BetterHelp is a counseling service that you can get counseling service for as affordable as $35 a week. So I would highly recommend checking it out at BetterHelp.com/Jensen. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.